What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Portfolio sitting on 171,339, trading flat on the day while the Nasdaq's actually trading up. I built this account to $1 million. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe right now. I'm here to talk about Google, which is one of my biggest positions here on this portfolio. I'm long Google 136 shares. And today I'm going to do a breakdown of why I'm so bullish on Google and the narrative around this stock whenever I bought it and why I was so bullish and still am. So let's dive into it. We officially got a peace treaty here with Iran, so that's good news. However, my portfolio is not moving much. And that's mainly because Meta and Microsoft have just been doing nothing. And I'm not sure why. And the goal here today is not to talk about them. If you look at the QQQ, let's look at the performance for the day. They're probably up a point and a half, 1.8%. 1.8% on my account represents almost $4,000. So think about that. I'm actually leaving $4,000 worth of gains because I decided to invest into Meta and Microsoft. So that's the risk you take whenever you take concentrated bets into positions that you truly believe in, but the timing might not be right now. But today we're here to talk about Google. This is my Google position. I have 134 shares with a 165 basis. And I bought most of these shares last year whenever Trump was throwing a fit when it comes to tariffs. Most of my buys were around the May timeframe whenever Google was trading on 150. Think about this. I bought Google at 150. I should have just bought everything. But March 31st, another big buy over here with $1,000. Another 4.6 shares at 155. The market was just not liking Google. And now it's one of the best performing stocks in the last year. And I'll tell you guys why. At this time, Google was trading at 18 to 19 PU ratio. They were giving up on the stock. They were losing on AI. They were talking about how Google is the eBay. All these analysts kept changing their mind. As you can see, I kept buying shares every day on the way down. I bought 15 shares at 190. So whenever you see a good position that you want to average down to, start buying now because you never know when the bottom's at. But the whole thing last year was the Department of Justice was suing Google for Google Chrome business. They were saying the Google Chrome business was a monopoly. They, of course, lost that case, but the stock market was giving up on Google. And I kept buying and buying because this company is phenomenal. The AI search threat was also a big thing during that time. They were talking about how OpenAI and Anthropic were going to advertise different businesses through these LLMs and that Google's search was going to be obsolete, which is, bizarre to think about, but everybody thought so. So they were discounting the stock so much. Gemini was also not the best at launch. I'll be honest. Their model has come a long way. OpenAI and Anthropic already had great models, and it was kind of embarrassing for Google. They were also getting beat from that. They were also spending a lot of money on CapEx. Their margin wasn't as good as it is today. So the stock was also getting discounted from that. So this sounds very familiar from the thesis that I have on Meta and Microsoft. Their multiples have been compressed because of different bad news within their businesses. And we've covered those in a different episode. But let's look at the 1-year chart. This thing has returned 128% last year. We'll talk about why the market is so bullish on Google. But here's the time that I was buying. During May timeframe, whenever everything was selling off. And whenever you see a lot of pain in the market, that's whenever you have to capitalize. Because these prices do not stay for long. As you can see, we had a major bounce already in June. So honestly, like a month or two later, the stock was already recovering. But today, the narrative is really different for Google. Their TPU business has a massive moat. They don't have to rely on NVIDIA for their compute infrastructure. And they've actually been building these TPUs since 2016. So this is not a new thing for them. And they've actually done really well these last couple of years. And it's a major advantage for them not having to rely on another vendor for the infrastructure needs when it comes to AI and just cloud compute. Gemini is also like a lot better than it was. Gemini 2.5 Pro is actually one of the better LLMs out there, and it goes head to head with Anthropic and OpenAI models. And their search business is back. Surprise, surprise, Google's not going anywhere. Their YouTube business is also extremely underrated. It's the #1 streaming platform by watch time in the US today. And they have a lot of market share. If you look at market share when it comes to streaming services, they have more than 15% of the whole attention when it comes to streaming. Like, that's massive. And then when it comes to their other bets, Waymo and SpaceX are two of them that I'm super bullish on. I live here in Austin. You see Waymos everywhere and they have a long time to go. Like, it's a new technology. Whenever you're a first mover in anything, things are going to fail. But here's the thing, Waymo's growing to a massive company. They have millions of rides every month, and they are leading in the space of autonomous cars. SpaceX, Google invested into SpaceX with a Starlink partnership for their cloud infrastructure. And that was all baked into the stock. And SpaceX was not a good thing last couple of years. For some reason, people did not like SpaceX. And with Google's partnership with them, which is very minor, they only own a portion of SpaceX, people didn't like it. So they're discounting the stock. And now look at it, 128% in 1 year. They have a 165 basis. And at these price points, I don't plan on adding more. I think Google at these valuations are actually fairly valued. I'm still very bullish on the company, but with my 135 shares, that represents 52K in my account, that's already a little overweight for one position. So that's around 30% of my portfolio in this account that has Google in it. So that's a lot for me. So I don't plan on adding any more shares, but the thing with Google was their multiple expansion. Let's look at their price to earnings right now. They're trading at a 30 price to earnings ratio. Whenever I was buying, they were trading at 19. They were trading at 18, 20. And that looks very similar to what Microsoft and Meta trade at today. And that was my whole thesis. They had a market cap expansion that was driven through the stock price and their price to earnings going up. And all of those narratives started dropping with the DOJ giving up on their case. And then the search business was healthy and they were reporting good earnings and YouTube was growing and Waymo and SpaceX and all these things that the market eventually flipped on Google. And now this is what we have. So this has been an instrumental piece of my portfolio, one of my better picks so far. And I wanted to share a little bit more on some of the different stocks that I've bought. I bought 5 shares of Marvell Technology, and that represents 0.6% of the portfolio. So extremely light here with these other bets. When it comes to Marvell, honestly, I don't know much of their business, but I do know they make chips and they actually trade at a somewhat attractive multiple, which is just crazy to think a chip maker trading at a 63 multiple is attractive. You see AMD, they're trading in the 90s. So if we see a multiple expansion in a couple of months from Marvell, which is a phenomenal company, by the way, we can see my $1,000, going up a lot more. And this is, of course, not financial advice. It's just what I'm doing in my portfolio. So I'm bullish on Marvell, and honestly, I wanted a little bit more exposure into different companies within the space, right? I'm big into Microsoft, I'm big into Meta, but I've missed a little bit of that trend when it comes to SanDisk and Micron. And honestly, it kind of sucks. Look at SanDisk today. They're trading a 7.5% gain. Sometimes I just want to liquidate my whole portfolio, grab margin, and just buy SanDisk because this is like free money, it seems like. I don't know when this is going to end, but this is just bizarre. 52% in the month. That's crazy. So I'm going to have a little bit of that. And hopefully Marvell is the one to give me some of those gains. And let's talk a little bit more about my other bets part of the portfolio. So I share with you guys, I was thinking of buying Rigetti, IonQ, QBTS, ASTS, and RocketLab. And ASTS and RocketLab have been really good picks. I put $600 into each of one of those names that I just shared. And again, look at these stocks, guys. They're moving 20% in one day. Like everything about the market has just shifted these last couple of years. And honestly, this last year, how does this stock move 20% in one day? Like, this is bizarre. I think value and price now so different that, people are just hyping these things up. So the price is just going insane, but I don't know if the value is there, to be frank. I know ASTS has a lot to do with data centers in space. And this has been the biggest craze now in the last couple of months due to the SpaceX IPO. But I'll share with you guys here, I have a 102 basis and I'm already up 16%. Like, I bought this last Friday. I'm already up 16%. Imagine if I had my whole portfolio in here. But this is just gambling at that point. And again, this represents 0.4% of the portfolio. So not necessarily a significant chunk, but I put $600 into each one of those stocks that I just shared at the bottom. And this is part of my other bets, high flying convictions here. Like, I don't necessarily want to put a lot of size into them, but I do want to have some exposure into some other stocks that I think are going to run up due to different catalysts, like the SpaceX IPO, for example, or the Anthropic and OpenAI IPO. That's going to be another massive event this year that we're going to watch for. So this is where we're sitting, 171.6, actually recovering a little bit here due to the end of the day. Let me know what you guys think of the video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. So thanks for being here. I want to see you guys win. I'll talk to you soon.